Welcome to the Bay. Thanks for having us. I'm Lisa Henning. I'm the Director of WorkWell at the Nebraska Safety Council. Today we have a panel to discuss worksite wellness in our community. And immediately to my left, I have Angelina Stovall-Amos from the city of Lincoln. To the left of her, I have Dr. Bob Rauner with Partnership for Healthy Lincoln and OneHealth. To the left of Bob, I have Gail Sutter, the Director of Continuum EAP. Next to Gail, I have Michelle Welch, who is a dietitian and as well as the wellness coordinator over at Lincoln Public Schools. And then to the left of Michelle, I have Cheto Cerda from Tabitha. I want to make a point that every single company that is up here today has received the Governor's Excellence in Wellness Award at some level, which means that they have an evidence-based worksite wellness program. That means that they have put in place specific measures to make sure that their program reaches certain goals. So my first question will go to Cheto, and that is, Cheto, there are challenges in nonprofit in offering wellness programs. Tell me why Tabitha is offering a wellness program for its employees.
Thank you, Lisa. Ultimately, Tabitha offers a wellness program to improve our employees' well-being. We employ a lot of caregivers, and I think a lot of people that are employed at Tabitha are natural caregivers, and some caregivers are notoriously known to care really well for others, but forget about their own health. And so Tabitha has made the commitment to provide a wellness program that hopes to provide them with resources to live a healthier life at work and then at home as well for their families. Employees are the biggest asset to a company, and so I always like to say you're only as healthy or as strong, especially for us as a nonprofit, as your employees are. So making sure that they're well equipped or that you're providing resources in the wellness arena are going to benefit them tremendously. So Tabitha also has a well-being clinic on site, a health and well-being clinic, and we think that having a true wellness program, evidence-based wellness program, will bridge that gap between the two, and it'll complement the employee health clinic well.
Okay, thank you. So my next question is for Gail. Gail, would you speak about the importance of mental health programs and its impact on employee well-being and corporate outcomes?
You bet. As an employee assistance program, we work with all kinds of companies, and what we know is employees have lots of stressors in their lives. The most recent statistics nationwide is that 71% say that they're highly stressed at any time. In the state of Nebraska, 53% indicated that they were stressed, and businesses, that was the biggest concern they had. We add all kinds of other mental health concerns that come along with that. We are seeing higher levels of depression and anxiety. One of the things we're seeing in some of the younger professionals coming into the workplace is abilities to manage all of those stressors. And so if we have proactive programs that will help them be able to address some of those issues, one of the things that happens is their productivity goes up as well as their attendance is maintained. And so investing in that well-being, being proactive and encouraging employees to take a look at that and their emotional and mental health is really important to being able to even manage any of the other physical health things that come up. Because if they don't have good emotional health, even if they have the best plans to do the other things, it's very difficult for them to be able to manage that.
And you know, I think what I see in the business world is we know how to handle physical well-being extremely well, but we're not doing a great job on the mental well-being front. And so utilizing resources like yours is essential. The state of Nebraska does a survey every 2 years, and about 2,000 businesses complete this survey. And in the last one in 2016, mental well-being was the greatest source of lost work time in these businesses across the state by a 40% margin. Mm-hmm. The second leading cause was obesity. So we really can't afford to ignore the mental well-being piece. So on that note, one person that I think has done an amazing job of offering a program and making sure that there's a lot of fun in the program is Michelle Welch from LPS, who's a single-man show, so to speak, for thousands of employees and thousands of children. And Michelle, I'd like for you to talk about how you use creative fun to inspire people to engage in wellness.
Sure, thanks, Lisa. What we really find, and what I've found in my practice as a dietitian for over 25 years, is that you're always going to engage people more around fun. Fun is one of our biggest motivators, and at the same time, I think it's really important that we speak the language of both of our staff, because I work with all of our 8,000 staff, as well as our 41,000 plus kids. And so engaging everyone from pre-K through 12 through staff is tricky. So what I think is super important is that we tie to what's going on by making everything that we do fun. So right now we're in the midst of kind of a brain break challenge, which is important for staff that are desk workers that need to get up and move and be flexible. It's important for kids transitioning between subjects so that they can regain their focus and their energy. And so right now we have things tied to Go Noodle that are going on. We have always pop culture tied in. I do a lot of things related to gaming because that's where kids live. And so that's always been a lot of fun for me. And what I found was when I used to do just straightforward wellness challenges with schools, I would have good participation, but what happened is I had almost double the participation when I started tying to pop culture. And so I always really make sure everything we do has a very fun lilt. The other thing that I do that I think is really important and that I would love to see in all wellness programs is that we always focus on the positive. We don't talk about what not to do, we talk about what to do. And particularly when we're working with families that may have food scarcity issues, we try not to villainize any specific food or any specific area. And what that does is, because everyone, if you line up 10 people, everyone's idea what healthy is different. And so by having a positive tone to everything we do and then making it fun, it's been really a critical piece of our success. But it's great when we'll do a challenge and I'll have 10,000 kids that will do the challenge and then all the staff that does it with them, because we always integrate the teachers into the fun. And so by having our staff combine with kids, I think that's been an essential piece as well.
Yeah, you've had some big challenges with your numbers to facilitate, but we're really glad that you're working with the students. One extra question, and I'm sorry I didn't prep you with this.
That's okay.
Just spout out a couple outcomes that you've had because of the wellness program with the kids and with the staff.
Well, you know, what's great is each of what I really do is I try to have centralize a focus each quarter around whatever piece of wellness that we're looking at. So for instance, this quarter we're really looking at activity. Next quarter will be social emotional. I really partner a lot with different groups, but for instance, Dr. Bob here, you know, we partner and we really look at what's happening with our fitness results and how that ties to academic success, and that all fits together with what we're doing too. But each quarter I'll get subjective data and objective data that really tells what's happening as far as engagement, but then I also find out, have kids and staff tell us their success stories about how has this impacted their life, and I'll get back 16 pages of comments from kids and staff about how each of those focuses have impacted their life and their family's life. So it's really exciting, and it's fun to have both subjective and objective data because it impacts people's heads and their hearts in really recognizing the impact of the programming.
Okay, and I neglected to introduce Angelina as well as a dietitian. She's a registered dietitian. And so Angelina, the city and LPS are under a tremendous amount of public scrutiny for how their tax dollars are spent. So when it comes to budgets, your budgets are very public. And everybody is looking at them. Could you speak to how you maximize what you do with hardly any money, if any money at all, and what the benefit is for both of you? What's the benefit to the public with your wellness program?
Yeah, so I'm newer in my position, but I have been with the health department for over 5 years, and with that I've learned a lot. I've experienced the employee side of things as well as now giving back, helping employees' health. And with the amount of budget that we have to work with, it's not much, and I find myself taking on multiple roles. But this isn't something that's not typical, because when I was in my prior position in tobacco prevention, childhood obesity prevention, I still had to wear multiple roles, and it's a very stressful, limited budget for all public service jobs. So we have to think about that, putting the stress in first place, because stress rises your cortisol levels, which can then impact your weight and multiple other things. So wearing multiple hats has allowed me to put things in place for the wellness program that others might not be able to do right off the bat. So I'm my own graphic designer. I'm my own video filmer. I put my emails together for newsletters, lots of things. You just have to do that with working on a limited budget. And the biggest thing that I can say for somebody that might be working on a limited income for their program is to really think about what you can do beyond just having money and throwing it at the employees, because they might ask for something like reduced gym cost, and you can provide that to them, but will they take it up? You have to think about what's going to motivate them to get them in the mindset of making these health behavior changes. So you have to eliminate your biases. You have to eliminate or increase your empathy and understanding of what the workers are coming at day to day, and put that into your program. And I think for most part, like with the being scrutinized, as you said, with our budget, it's hard. Because I hear employees asking, why aren't we able to get gym memberships and have, massages on site? Well, how can we do that without being able to get those incentives? And like I said, you have to build it beforehand. But the fact is, if we cannot offer, if we don't have a little give to put into our program, we might not be making the best employees overall. We might not be addressing stress and mental health as good as we can. So I think to those listening, it's a give and take. If as much as we can give to our employees, they're going to be more productive. They're going to be happier, less stressed. They're going to miss less time at work. And the healthcare cost is going down, because they're able to focus on their well-being. So, and they're able to do their multiple hats with more pizzazz.
Michelle, would you talk
Okay.
about that?
Well, and I come to the role that I'm in after having been a corporate wellness developer and worked with about 40 different companies across Lincoln prior to taking this role with Lincoln Public Schools as a single company. And so I've seen really every version of how much people invest in their staff, and it's important. And we don't do enough of that because we are so mindful of the taxpayer, and we need to keep working on that paradigm shift, because you think about who is with your kids each day. How healthy do you want that person to be that is spending the most hours of your child's waking hours with them in their day? We want that person to be healthy. We want them to be healthy and stay in their job. We want them to be as productive and as great of a role model as they possibly can be. And by not investing in that, it hurts us. And there is a return on investment in wellness that we kind of tend to forget about. We focus on the upfront cost, but we kind of forget that, gosh, if we avoid one heart attack or stroke, that could pay for a really significant wellness program. And so we need to keep moving that ball forward in investing. Again, I am very good at being a cheap date and have been for some time, because since I can develop everything myself, that helps save the taxpayer a tremendous amount of money. That being said, you can't rub two sticks together all the time and have it be the program you want, that will have the biggest impact on the health of our staff and keep them going. And that's why it's also important that although we need to keep working on investing and in growing that investment, it's also important that I work with whatever resources that we have to maximize them. So Gail and I meet and we say, hey, within our Continuum Employee Assistance Program, how are we maximizing that? And she and I have been collaborating and figuring out ways to do that. Angelina and I work together, Bob and I work together, Lisa and I have worked together in the past on different things, and we all really talk and collaborate as people that work in the nonprofit world and that really make the most out of the least amount of dollars that you have. How do we make every dollar invested in the health of our staff and in the health of our future kids that are going to be our future employees in this town mean the most. And so that, like Angelina is saying, not just throwing dollars in places that are less meaningful. And what's my benefit is, after having worked with so many different companies, I've been able to see what works, what I feel was less effective, and really what that return on investment is. And so to smartly create plans, that's what's really important, is that we have people that have good experience, and have people like Lisa working with WorkWell, what she does with different businesses that maybe don't have an expert on site, that she can say, hey, these are places where we see it has the biggest impact. And so every business never has enough money, but especially when we talk about taxpayer dollars, please do know that we are going to always be very responsible with those. But the time has come for us to continue to work on shifting towards having more and more investment in the health of our teachers, so that they can also invest in the health of our kids and our future of our community.
Cheto, could you speak to this just for a second? Because, even though you're not funded by public dollars, you still have a nonprofit, and you've had to really maximize your resources. So speak a little bit about how this has been a little bit of a challenge for you, but how you've overcome some of that.
Well, I think when any, Tabitha being a nonprofit has, I think, taken a huge leap in saying, all right, we want to hire a well-being coordinator. We want somebody to man this ship and be responsible for it. And like Michelle said, rub two sticks together and make things work. And so, every day is a challenge, every quarter is a challenge, because in the nonprofit world, every quarter means something, especially financially. There's some times where they maybe allow me to allocate some monies towards a challenge, and the way I have to do it is, if I want to do it in 1 month, sometimes they're like, no, let's do it in a 2-month period, or when we can allocate money, we're going to do it, we'll separate that, and that's just because of the bottom line. So, like I said, everything's a challenge, but I think, we've been able to maximize our resources and know our people and try to keep things simple, make things simplistic, and we have reached out to the community and asked for donations, whether it be a gift card, whether it be a lunch and learn that I'm presenting that will provide a lunch. So doing a lot of that and makes it for a challenge. But when you're speaking about how people can help or donate or invest in wellness from the taxpayer side, I'd be all in support for a bill that goes to wellness all day, every day, but just because I know the impact. But on the flip side, I always tell people that are given to nonprofits, if you like the nonprofit, but maybe don't want to give to a certain area, maybe you gave to a certain area in the past, I think you can always give to a wellness budget, something, and like I said, there's always that option where you like nonprofit, maybe you gave in the years past and you don't want to give to the same cause, but I think within the company you can give to a separate cause, and that's always in wellness.
So, Dr. Bob, I'm not ignoring you, but I'm going to give you a little more time to speak to this. So, Dr. Bob is a medical physician, and he also has his master's in public health, so it's a great combination for our community. I want you to speak to what you've seen as the impact of worksite wellness to our community in general, and spend a little more time on that, please, if you could.
Well, from a public health perspective, the thing is, how do you reach everybody? You have this great message, you want to reach as many people as possible. How do you push it out there? I think a comparison to the schools is great, because the schools, if you're going to reach kids, where would you reach kids? Well, through the school system. Through LPS, you can reach 43,000 students, 7,000 staff, and if some of our challenges go home to parents, which they do, maybe you're reaching 50 to 100,000 people. That's a huge chunk of a community. Well, how do you reach all the adults? Well, where are the adults? Well, the kids are at school, the mom and dad are at work, hopefully. And so if you have worksite wellness programs, that's the best way to reach mom and dad, because that's the way to push messages out. And so one of the things is we put together, for example, you have a collective of businesses. If you look at the reach of all the businesses you work with, you're probably reaching tens of thousands of adults. One of the things we do to try to make the case to employers is, why are you benefiting? Just like in the schools, there's secondary benefits of wellness. Wellness in itself is good, but you also have reduced behavioral problems with kids, you have better academic achievement. Well, what does the employer get out of it? Well, they benefit probably on 3 different ways. One is just like better academic achievement with the kids, you get better productivity and reduced absenteeism for the employees, which is good for a business. Work comp is something people don't think about, but someone who has an injury at work, if they're physically healthy, the costs and the recovery will be maybe 1/3 of if you're not a healthy person or not physically fit. And last, it's the healthcare cost, which we're at about $10,000 per person in the United States right now. That's a lot of money. Well, the best way to save money in healthcare is to have less sick people. And so anything they do from an employer perspective to reduce those things can save a lot of money. And Lincoln's lucky in that we have we do have nationally recognized wellness programs in a lot of our employers. I think one of my favorite is Lincoln Industries because it's a manufacturing environment, which might have an image for not being a place to go to be healthy, but actually they could, I think, market to their employees, come here and work here because you'll be healthier and live longer in this manufacturing place. So the best thing about employers is that I think that's one way to reach tens of thousands of Lincolnites.
Yeah, Lincoln is fortunate. We have several nationally recognized companies. Lincoln Industries is one. Speedway Motors is really knocking on the door. LES is doing a phenomenal job. Duncan Aviation, and I'm only naming a few. Nebraska has the Governor's Excellence in Wellness Award that I mentioned earlier. We have over 300 businesses that have received that award across the state. We are recognized by the Centers for Disease Control as an exceptional state in our outcomes. Our companies that received the Governor's Award last year reduced obesity by 5.6%. They reduced tobacco use by more than 8%. They increased people meeting Surgeon General guidelines for physical activity by more than 25%. It's significant. It's working. And those things, at the end of the day, yes, we've talked a lot about business outcomes. At the end of the day, this is about quality of life of our citizens. When you interview some of the very best CEOs, Lincoln Industries CEO, Duncan Aviation CEO, about why they do wellness, I'll never forget one of the times when I asked that question. And I was asked to look outside the CEO's door. He says, "You see that man working for me right there? He's worked for our company for 30 years. He told me the other day that he's able to get down on the ground and play with his grandchildren for the first time. And that's all I care about. That's what matters to me. He's a part of our family." Mm-hmm. And so there really are people that truly believe in this, not just from a business perspective, but these are their people. We're a tight-knit community, and so this is about our people. When our children are healthy, when our teachers are healthy, when our staff are healthy, it makes a difference. I have some more questions, a few more for our panel, and I'll conclude with one last question. So, to our young professionals that are out there that are seeking employment, and this is becoming very important to the millennial generation, what could you tell them about what to look for in a company? What's a deciding differentiator for them? What should it be? Any of you. Any of you can answer this question.
Well, I guess I would say, again, from working with a number of companies, I really think that sometimes we get distracted by what the salary number is. But I really think that, which is of course important, it makes a difference in how you pay your mortgage, but your ability to be healthy and what's the culture of that business. I say that even with my, because I do a lot of talks at UNL, and I talk to them about, making sure that the business or the school that they're going into, that they fit that culture, that, and really what is that offering for you well beyond what the salary is? Because if the culture is everyone works 14-hour days, that's going to really have a long-term impact on your health. And also it's going to impact their turnover, but it's going to really make a difference in your quality of life. And the thing that is different about the millennial generation is they really want to work hard, but they also really need that downtime. And they aren't going to necessarily want to work those crazy hours. And so they're going to want to look for a business that looks at their culture, looks at their health. Is it looking out for their wellness? Is it looking out for their social emotional wellness? Because that's more important to the millennial generation. We have been caregivers in our generation without taking care of ourselves as much as we should. And the millennials are much more woke about just really paying attention to their social emotional health and recognizing that, just because I think that they've had so much more struggle with depression and with other issues. So it's much more real to them because so many of their friends have struggled with it if they haven't struggled with it themselves. So I think as businesses are proactive and really looking to hire the best, they're going to really attract the best by paying attention to that as well.
Go ahead. Cheto.
Well, I was just going to say that, I mean, I can attest to that. Everything you said is spot on. I think entering the workforce in 2011, thank goodness I had a mentor to express some of those things to me, the benefits, and not just from a pay standpoint. Because sometimes a company can pay you $1 more, can pay you a couple thousand more a year, but does that equate to overall having a better position or having a better pay? I think you got to take a look at the whole picture, and I haven't held that many jobs. I think I've only been in this is my third one with Tabitha, but I'm telling you, I always said I've been fortunate to have great positions, and I always said, if I choose to go somewhere else, it's going to have to be for the culture. It's going to have to be for programs like the EAP, employee assistance, and wellness too, because I think it's important to. I like being held accountable myself, just as our people that participate in our employee wellness program. So I can truly attest to what you've stated there, Michelle.
Yeah, Angelina, you have a young family, and so talk about how work-life balance is really important for you as an employee.
So I was, on top of what I'm going to say, I also want to let people know, don't rule out any job because it doesn't have an amazing package of, wellness programs or anything like that, because you will grow. It's what you take from your job. That's what you'll get from it. So, I've had jobs that didn't have a lot, but I learned how to be on time. I learned how to do some other skills because I was looking at it more than just what can you give me. So, don't rule out a job just because it's not amazing with all of the glory and with bells and whistles. As for working at the health department for the past 5 years, I've valued it because I started my family there, and they are flexible and understanding, and we might not have a lot of money put into our wellness program, but the ability of being able to be like, my kid is sick, can I make up some hours here? That's priceless to me. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to stay there, because my bosses, my employers understand that you need to be flexible with employees because they're coming to work with different situations. They are experiencing different things in their family life that you might not know exactly what's going on, but you can help by offering a little bit of flexibility in their work schedule.
Kudos to Charlotte. We all love Charlotte. She's a great manager. Gail, just real quick, I want to ask you a question because everybody at the table here is a large company except for yours and mine. And I want you to just say a few words about what you do and the size of your company.
Okay. We are a small company. We have 9 employees, and we serve about 100 different companies. And so a lot of what we do is provide a whole array of different things to those other companies about them taking care of their employees and keeping them healthy and happy and productive. But I believe, as you said, we have caregivers, and so we're so impacted by looking at what do we need to do to serve others. As a small employer, it's really important for us to take those step backs, because as a small employer, we all have to jump in and take care of everybody, and whenever the crisis happens, we have to respond. That's a part of our world. But we also have to step back and do that. And so we've really worked very hard as a small employer to really promote that self-care. We also, because most of our staff are mental health providers, is again, we feel like we should know how to take care of ourselves. But what we find is that we have to work at that, we have to model that, and the more we learn about that and we learn about what other companies are doing, we're really better able to take care of us. We're small. We've invested in our wellness program. We put quite a few dollars into it, whether that's with health coaching, giving some incentives of some time off, because we think that's really important. Encouraging people to volunteer and giving volunteer time, which is hard as a small employer to do. We do a lot of things to help with their health and wellness. As a small employer, it's even sometimes hard to offer health insurance because those costs are pretty tremendous. So again, I think we say that we're only as good as our people are to be able to help other people. And so if we don't invest in that wellness, we don't make it a priority. And we have to keep working at that, because it's easy when you have so many other things stretching you and pulling you to say, well, that can kind of go off to the side. And I think in a big company, sometimes you have those people that's their job to keep it in front of you. In a small company, we all have to work at that because we have lots of things that are pulling us aside. And so you really have to focus on that. And we kind of have to do what we tell others, is if we don't take care of ourselves, emotionally, mentally, and physically, we can't be the best. And so we have to always take that step back and prioritize that and make that happen. And you know, if you don't live it, it's really hard to teach others to do it.
Let's talk a little about why should an employee look for a healthier work site? And one thing we haven't touched about is turnover of people. And so my first job was not a happy environment, and it started causing trouble from our health. I mean, I had trouble sleeping, my blood pressure was up, and the end result is I left that job. And that takes a lot to recruit new people, and this is a tough work environment right now. And so if you're going to a healthier work site, you're probably gonna be happier, you'll be more productive, and you want to stay someplace you believe in. If you work for the employer like the one you talked about who cares about people, people also want to stay at those places. And right now, turnover is a big issue. And so if you can keep people more productive, happier, I tell young people sometimes, you know, you're going to spend as much time as work as you're going to spend with your family. So you really should pick a good place to work where you're going to be happy. And yeah, maybe this one might pay you a little bit more, but if you're going to be miserable, what's the point of making more if you're going to be miserable? And so I think one of the things right now, when we have an unemployment rate of, I think, 2.6% in Lincoln, you got to keep people. And so having a better place to work, you're going to have a less struggle trying with the turnover side of things.
Yeah, I know, for example, Hexagon is a manufacturing firm in town. They're new to wellness. It's only been doing it about 4 years, but I can tell you, they're already seeing outcomes. They've literally cut their metabolic syndrome in half. But most importantly, their retention rate is above 96%. Which is in a manufacturing world almost unheard of.
Yeah.
So, you know, they're doing a great job there. The cost to replace an employee is estimated at 1.5 to their salary. So if the person's making $30,000, it's $45,000 to replace that employee. It's a huge expense for businesses. Okay, I have one final question, and I'd like everybody to comment, and that is, what has wellness done for your corporate culture? And I think at the end of the day, and you know, Michelle, you brought it up, this is about looking at culture. So tell us about, we'll start with Angelina here. What has wellness done for your corporate culture?
Oh, goodness. The first thing that comes to my mind is respect and valuing the employee. I think it's brought a level of value instead of return on investment. And with that, like knowing, like I was saying earlier, like knowing that my employer is a little bit more flexible. We're able to take some walks in the day to cut down our stress when we're having a stressful time. I mean, that's value that we're adding to my day, so.
Yeah, I guess, well, actually I'm a similar work environment to Gail, where I work with lots of other organizations, and the nonprofit side with other nonprofits, the health system with all the clinics. But our internal organization, although it's a small group, I think we have got a healthy environment, and frankly for us, we haven't had any turnover. The only people we've lost is because their spouse got a job in Chicago and they had to move, for example. And so I think by having a healthy group working together, and of course it's what we do, so we better be a healthy environment since we work on the health side of things. So one, it's a fun place to work. Two, we haven't had any of the turnover. I think those are two of the best things, because like you said with the turnover, retraining a new person, it takes so much time, and if you're in an environment where it's a very technical environment, it can take 6 to 12 months to get somebody up to speed. And I like the fact that we don't have the turnover.
The values are immense for us, but I think one of them that's really helpful to us with our wellness program is we all work very independently. Even though we talk about things, everybody has their jobs and they go out and they take care of them, do them. But a lot of our wellness activities bring us back to having some of that integration, having some of that celebration, being able to do some things that create some of that feeling good about ourselves, encouraging each other. And sometimes I think with our jobs we do that on that, but this is something that gives it kind of a different component that's really important in building that team and building the culture.
Well, it wasn't planned this way, but my role started at the same time as LPS had the fire at the district offices. And so, we're very blessed to have Dr. Joel. I'm very blessed to have Dr. Neal as my boss. But what I really feel like we were able to do with wellness, because my role is through the superintendent's office, I'm not siloed, it's allowed me to be, and someone kind of put this way, and I thought, oh, it's kind of true. Wellness has kind of been the mortar between our bricks, because we've got all these different people doing different pieces, and I'm able to kind of finesse and finagle between all these different departments and different schools and different groups and kind of bring them together into one piece, but in a positive, fun, light way. That was a tough year when we had that happen in the recovery. We've just met the 5-year anniversary this week of being in the new building. But what we really found was we so needed that pulling together of the culture, and that's really what our wellness approach has been, is that we really try to weave it into and integrate it in with everything, so it really does become the mortar between the bricks. And I think it's really been great because also Dr. Joel has such a fun personality, and that he's been really supportive of what we do, and so that's made a tremendous amount of difference in bringing that caring. It's hard when you're an employer of 8,000 people to have it feel personal, to have it feel relational, and to have it feel like you're not a cog in the wheel. And I think that's really what we've been able to do, is bring the relationship piece forward of what really, how we care about our staff, even though there's such a mass of them, and to utilize wellness to do that.
I can definitely relate to mingling and twining. I think wellness has enhanced our culture. When you put a face to wellness, that's screaming commitment. That's screaming, we want this a part of our culture. And so I think Tabitha taking that step and doing that has nothing but enhanced the culture. I love when I'm in the hall and somebody is eating a donut or something, and they look at me and say, I'm only going to eat half. or at a potluck, where if they know I'm coming, they'll
And you say, can I have the other?
right. No, it's being talked about. It's at the forefront. You have somebody who's gonna fight for the employees and push them to be well. And so, like I said, I think it's enhanced the culture, which is, for all these reasons that we have discussed here today, is always a good thing.
So I want to thank our panel. I think they've done a great job. I think everybody is in agreement that Worksite Wellness is a valuable asset to our businesses, to our community, to our citizens. So I encourage all businesses, all people, if you're watching, if you don't have a Worksite Wellness program at your company, start one. If you want to know how, give me a call. If you are part of a company that has a Worksite Wellness program and you haven't engaged, get engaged in that program. It's so valuable when you feel good about yourself and you feel healthy. You're just a lot happier person. So get engaged in your program. We do have companies that have great wellness programs, and people sit back and they don't engage. Really, don't let that pass you by. It's kind of like leaving money on the table. Take it. Go with it, run with it. It's something that your employer really wants you to do. If you're going to be looking for employment, I think Michelle's comments about looking for culture, in addition to part of your package of salary and benefits, is extremely important. Seek out those employers. They're out there. We have many of them sitting at the table here. We have hundreds across the state. Look for those people that are valuing the employees inside those companies. So thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it.